Okay, hi everybody. It's our weekly mentorship call. I had a event of a lifetime last week. I was in Los Angeles. I got quite a few pops being out there, and I'm completely addicted to live events now. The thing that people get. We can do so much more in such a short amount of time. When you get face to face, it's great to do hangouts. People are getting their lives changed, but there's just something about the spirit and heart of people when you see them and you're there. You can hug on them, you can love on them, and so live events is going to be one of my big goals in the future. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart. It's hanging out with people who are striving for their goals. There's something about you making friends. I mean, it's good to have different types of people. There are people that you're always helping, and there's people on your equal level that you're sharing your struggles with. And then there's people that are above you, that are pushing harder than you, that are inspiring you. These are your mentors and your leadership. Um, but then there's a culture that it doesn't matter which one of those categories they are. There's a culture of a people, a type of person that is striving for excellence, and it really doesn't matter what arena it's in. One of the things that we talked about was life mastery during the weekend. One of the things I can't wait to share with you guys is advanced personalities. I got to touch on that for the first time, and amazing stuff. I mean, huge receptivity on advanced personality stuff, personality training. But mastery is what I want to talk to you guys about. Is that there's something about hanging out with people that are focused on a single thing. They can have multiple things in their life, but there's this focus in their life that they want to master. They want to perfect. They want to be the very best that they possibly can at it. And there's a lot of commonalities in that relationship, in that culture, in those types of people. They have to actually push past common opinion. They have to push past with the voice of who do you think you are? What makes you better than us, to try and be the best at something. And there's a lot of those voices that help propel you into some of the culture of mastery. And one of the things that's very common in someone who's pressing toward excellence is this concept called alone. And leadership is a pretty lonely place that you find yourself being followed. Once you start getting a sphere of influence, you find a tremendous amount of followers, but you don't quite get heard as much as you want to. There's a lot of times when you're by yourself, when you're meditating by yourself, when you're studying by yourself, when you're pressing toward excellence by yourself, and there's not a lot of camaraderie there. And it's just the passion of excellence, and it's the passion of mastery that is your fellowship, that's your friend. I mean, it's this concept that assures you and and gives you the confidence to keep going. There's just something about having a couple things in your life, and I've always done that. Since I was a 12-year-old kid, I wanted to be the best chess champion, and so 6 months later, I was the county chess champion. And so I wanted to be science fiction guy, so I read every science fiction book on the planet and started writing my own science fiction novels and stories and stuff by the time I was 18, 19 years old. And then, we just did things with such gusto. Everything that we did with 110% passion. And there's something about that that causes the other arenas in your life. When kids learn the teamwork and the excellence of sports, that one of those character traits, if they have a good coach and taught those things, you can develop those character traits into business and in life. That the real life one-on-one stuff that you learn on the field isn't so much as important as the character trait that you learn, the heart of pursuit, the heart of how to deal with defeat and how to deal with human interaction and teamwork. Well, it's the same way with mastery. Find something in your life that you're passionate about. Find something that can go beyond a hobby, that you're going to be the very best of the best. One of the things that I picked up a couple years ago was knife making, and I strive to be an excellent knife maker to the point where people would pay $200 or $300 for a single knife that I would make. And it took me 2 years. I was out in my garage on weekends and evenings and pressing and learning about the different types of handles and glues and wood and metal and just studied everything I possibly could. And it took me 2 years before I started selling knives. I wasn't even making my money back on the initial price of them. But by the end of the third year, I was actually producing some really high quality stuff, $200, $300 knives. That it wasn't really for the profession. It wasn't for the income. I wasn't trying to do it as a business, but it was that heart turning away from a lot of the other stuff that I was doing and focused, in the garage all by myself, grinding away at steel, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's just that thing, that me and excellence, me and mastery, that inspired me to become even better at all the other things that I did. There's this thing that inspires you to become great. And then you start hanging out with other people who are like that. Find people. That's one of the reasons I love YouTube as much as I do, because you can find all these people out there that are striving for perfection, that are struggling along with their inconsistencies, their imperfections, and yet they're going for the gold. I mean, they're just, you can find them all over the planet now. They're posting their struggles, they're posting their life event. They love to hang out with other people like themselves, so it's easy to build a fellowship and a camaraderie around the subject of mastery. So start looking for people that are like you. It could be a similar subject, or it can be something that's a little bit different. I met a guy at our last event who was passionate about mathematics and physics, and we talked for a while about that passion. This guy's a 7th degree black belt. He's a surgeon, and he's high level. I mean, just super high level mathematician in physics. The guy took that principle of karate that he learned and used it to propel him into excellence in everything that he did. The guy's a superstar. I love hanging out with those people. And then what's interesting about it is you don't have to be intimidated by that crowd. They actually like the fact that you're striving, even in the beginning of your striving. You know, you're in a business opportunity and your mentor says, I need you to ask 10 times a day the $1 million question, and you're asking 110 times a day. That heart attracts you to other people like that. That heart will inspire other people to listen to what you have to say. It's not about being a master, it's about the striving to masterhood that causes that camaraderie to happen. That we love that process all the way along the way. So since most of you guys are that level, I mean, one of the reasons that you guys are on all these calls and we talk as often as we do is because you guys have a heart. You know, you're willing to put some money, you're willing to put your time, you're willing to put your effort, you're willing to do your homework, and so we hang out at that level. We hang out at the level of mastery. One of the things you have to know is that we are all struggling with the same problems. We're all in the same place. We're all struggling with the same issues. One of the things, I don't know if I mentioned it on this call or on the SQ call that we do, but it was 2 or 3 weeks ago now that for the very first time in my whole life of teaching and training, for the very first time, I didn't hear that voice in my head that all of us hear right before you go to do something great, before you go to do something that's different than your peers. I hear that voice in your head. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And it didn't matter that I've owned 50 companies and I've made $10 million and I've trained thousands of people and I've mentored hundreds and I hang out with seats with millionaires and I get rides. You know, I've been first class all over the planet. It doesn't matter. All that stuff didn't matter. That voice was still there. That 8-year-old, 9-year-old little kid that was being told his whole life that you're not worthy is still speaking. It's still saying, who do you think you are? And 2 or 3 weeks ago was the very first time that I recognized. I went through the whole call and I didn't hear the voice. And what's really weird about it, people think that's weird, especially for me because I'm teaching 4 times a day. I teach 4 times a day, 365 days a year. I'm always doing this, and yet for my whole entire life, there's that little question in the back of your head, who do you think you are? What was really interesting about it is that, and I'm hoping that it inspires you because I know you hear that voice. I know that when you're trying to strive, your wife or your friends or your husband or somebody saying, you know, who do you think? I don't know who you think you are. You're going to go out there and make $10,000 a month. You ain't never made $10,000 a month before. Whatever that voice is of doubt, of question that goes in your head, that you have to continue to do even in the midst of voice, even in the midst of that negative voice. The really cool thing about it is I thought it might be a one-time event that the voice would just stop. It's just I was too busy to hear it. But I haven't heard it since. 3 weeks now, every time I get in front of a stage, I'm actually doing live events now, which is a whole new world for me, doing the live events. I've spoken in front of crowds of 1,500 people, but I've never had my own event. I've never done that thing. And so it would be typical, you're stepping into a new arena, you're doing something a little bit different, that your old voices would come back. I didn't hear it one time. I didn't hear who do you think you are. I was so impassioned about helping people that it wasn't about me. It stopped being about me. I know that I have some skills. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not the most skilled person in every single arena or anything that I talk about. I bet I can find somebody smarter in almost everything I talk about. And yet I have some skills. We have to say, this is what I do. This is who I am. I'm going to strive for excellence, and even in my imperfection, I'm going to help you. And it stops being about you. And so we need to help people find that place. There's a certain amount of freedom. There's a tremendous amount of freedom in doing it anyway. That's bravery. to continue to do it no matter what the voice in your head says. But then there's freedom when you press past it, and then you can encourage other people that they can get free. That you don't have to hear the voice of negativity. You don't have to always be pressed down. There is actually freedom on the other side of push. So we continue to push against ourselves. We continue to push against our peers. We continue to push against society. We continue to push against everything that's trying to keep us down, trying to keep us less than divinity, trying to keep us less than voicing ourselves. And we're going to just keep doing it. You keep doing it till you get it. Somebody says, well, how long do I have to do this? Until. How long do I have to ask the $1 million question? Until. Until you have $1 million in your bank and you don't have to work anymore. How about that? Well, you know, I heard somebody, they asked the $1 million question 10 times and they got 5 leads. Yeah? What's that got to do with you? How many times do you have to ask the $1 million question to get 5 leads? It doesn't matter. You just do it until. You figure out what it's going to take for you to make it. And you're going to make it. We had tremendous event over at the day. We had Thursday, we had Friday all day, which was 6 hours. And then Saturday we did all day. We did 6 hours, and then I squeezed in another hour because I couldn't possibly get caught up. So people actually skipped their lunch break to hang out for an extra hour, and so we went straight through. And then Sunday morning we did this thing called SQ, which is we take IQ and EQ all week long, talking about your intelligence and your skills, and then your EQ, your emotionals, and your I can do, the emotional quotient that it takes to become a professional and a businessman and a person of success. And then we tie it all together on Sunday morning. And I tell everybody, get your seatbelts on because we're going to SQ. And, you know, I made it really scary for them. You know, I set them up pretty good. I said, you know, you've never heard anything like this. You're going to have to wear seatbelts. It's going to be so scary. And so we did the SQ meeting. I said, turn off the cameras, turn off the videotapes. Unless you come to a live event, you're never going to hear this. This is only for the people in the room. And so, you know, they're all looking at each other like, oh, no, we're going to sacrifice chickens or what? You know, just like they're pretty scared. And so I started talking. And it was better than I ever imagined. People were weeping. This one guy cried the whole time. This guy came all the way from another country. We had 3 people from another country come to the event. This one guy, he says, the moment I started talking, he says, I didn't know what you were going to talk about. You started talking, I started weeping. The whole time. I mean, he's just like a whole hour he's crying. And people are just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. I've been looking for this stuff for my whole life. And I think we only had one possible negative out of the whole crowd. Everybody showed up for the SQ part, and we had one guy that was a little concerned that it would put off for future events, that too much spirituality would put off people, and yet we had 29 out of 30 that were so impacted and so moved that they were weeping. It was beautiful. And so I spoke for a whole hour, and then Robert took over, and then we broke, and we said, you know, here's the deal. You guys, some of you have to check out. You have to go home. Those of you who want to stick around, you guys, everybody take off, go check out of your hotel, and go home. If you're not interested in the rest of the class, then we understand. You know, SQ's not for everybody, and we'll come back in 15 minutes. We broke for 15 minutes, and everybody stayed. The whole entire crowd stayed, and they had dozens of questions. I mean, it just went on and on and on. It could have gone for days. It was just phenomenal. And so strive for your goals, strive for dreams. This was a bucket list for me. This was something that I dreamed about for years, to do the things that I'm doing. And, you know, if I can do it, you can do it. If I can reach my goals, if I can knock off my bucket list, I only have one thing left on my bucket list. I actually knocked off 2 in the very same weekend. 2 of the 3 things that I had left on my bucket list to accomplish. Number 1 was to start doing live events, to be on a stage with people of success and be changing people's lives. Number 2 was to get Robert Hollis to do his own live event. One of my primary goals in life was to make sure that he got on stage, because that's where he's destined to be. If you've ever seen the guy on stage, he's magical. I mean, the guy is not like anybody I've ever seen. And so my goal was to convince him to do his own event. He needs to be on stage. And so I got both of those knocked off in the very same event. Now all I got to do is fly a helicopter, and I got nothing left to do. So I'm excited. We're going to be doing 2 meetings a week to catch up with you guys. We're going to be doing our group SQ thing. We're going to do our mentorship thing. Got lots of stuff to share with you. I'm also going to be giving you guys some of the videos. We're actually going to be combining them into different groups, you know, different training series, and we're going to be selling them on our websites. For all you guys, you get them all for free. So we'll let you guys download some of the stuff. I can't wait till you see the one that we did on advanced personalities. That's going to be fun. So all of my buddies in the mentorship program get everything for free. I don't need to charge you anything. You know, we're only here to help you. So I'm going to shut off the event, close it down. See you guys on the next one. One of the things that you guys can really help me do is promote my Charlotte event. We got 22 tickets left. We've already got 10 or 11 that are already committed to selling. We got 20 tickets. If you guys would go on my wall and share that stuff out, I'd love to sell that. We really want the right people to be there, so we're looking to have not a lot of people. We just want the right people. So post it out for us. Help us sell that thing out. See you guys on the next